Fill your cup with whatever you're drinking. Come join me on this next video. Welcome back to the shop. We've got some basic maintenance things that I want to bring you along on here. We did the sharp lawnmower blades sharpening a couple of videos ago. I'll put that in the descriptions if you want to see that. But every spring I like to try to take and prep the handles of my tools. This is a rake that I did a couple of years ago. It was becoming raised. The grain was getting raised from some weather damage. Sanded it down and it has just turned out beautifully. But we have some other tools here. Here's an old shovel, and you can see how badly raised that grain is right there, but I think we can sand that down and clean it up. Got to get some of that mud scraped off of there, so we'll use one of our scrapers. And I'm not going to do all of the tools, the spring tools that I'm going to do eventually. I'm just doing these three because the principles all apply. The means by which to do it all apply to each of them equally. So you can see the raised grain there as well. Needs to be sanded down, moisturized with some linseed oil. So let me show you this process, and I'll bring you down here on the bench and we'll get some work done. So this isn't too complicated of a process. Basically need a scraper, scrape off all of that mud that needs to come off of there. Most of it will probably knock off, and a sanding block. I like these foam sanding blocks for doing this kind of work. Some of these we may use the orbital sander on to get that sanded down nicely, but when you're just doing something like this one here that's already been maintained well for several years, you basically just need to touch it up with a sanding block and rehydrate it. Basically, you're just kind of roughing up, and anywhere that the linseed oil was kind of thin, you're just opening it up, especially that grain right there, so that it can be re-moisturized and the linseed oil can get down in there nice and deep. So let's go outside. We'll also use the wire brush to clean up the heads on these, and if I am looking correctly, it looks like some green paint on here, and so I'm thinking of trying to touch this up, clean them up. It does help, at least up here, to have some protection with the paint. You can see that this hasn't been kept up very well, but let's go and get these cleaned up. We'll give them a dunk, and I'll show you that process as well, and we'll have some good tools that'll last us for a long time. So the handle on this shovel, the head, is just a little bit loose. And you see how it's spread right there. And so what we need to do is we need to tap down that rivet. So let's bring that rivet a little tighter so that this all pulls together and that will not move. inside that handle anymore. That is tight. That's not going anywhere. I don't know if you noticed from before, that crease has come together. So that should hold very well. All right, I've got one shovel done, and you can see just how dry, but it is smooth now because we've sanded it. And you can see that raised grain, that grain that looks like it started to separate. We've got that sanded, but once we get this saturated with linseed oil, that will help that considerably. Already put a little bit of linseed oil up here at the top. And I have this tube here. It's a 4-inch PVC tube with a toilet flange at the bottom that's not broken, and that is my bath. So I'm able to keep that in there. Just take any kind of a handle of any kind, stick it down in there, and then I can take a brush, an old expendable brush, and just bring this all up and saturate this wood really, really well. So I want to make everybody aware, they don't really boil the linseed oil. They have to put a chemical in it so that it'll dry a little faster, otherwise it takes forever to dry. So it's best to wear gloves when you do this. It's not a super big deal, but it is just best to take the precaution. You don't want your body absorbing things that it shouldn't have. And this will clean up. It's had a chance. It's been soaking for probably about an hour in the bath. The other shovel is over there soaking right now. And this will be wet yet, but you can hang it up after you've wiped it, and it will dry very nicely. All saturated. That oil has penetrated down in there really, really well. The other thing I want to note and want you to take into consideration is your rag. If these are all stuffed in somewhere in the trash, they can spontaneously combust. And what you have in the trash will add fuel. So I like to let them dry. Now this one I will use to clean up all of the tools for today. And I probably won't put it in our fireplace. I'll probably take it out back and burn it in our fire pit. So I just want everyone to be aware that this material can spontaneously combust, so you got to be kind of careful. All right, we've got our tools all set up here. I want to show you this rake. This is the third year that I have done this one, and it is already dry, but it still looks shiny. And what's neat about it is it's just been penetrated with That linseed oil has a really nice finish on it. It feels good, good grip. You're still coming in contact with the wood, and yet that is very, very nicely preserved. So this rake is ready for another season of use. We've got this shovel here already oiled up, and we're going to go ahead and use our oil rag in a can. If you want to see a video on that, I'll put it in the description and below the video. But you just have this right here to be able to get all this nicely oiled and slicked up. You can also visit, if you're interested, I have the sand and oil in a bucket that helps you to keep your tools clean, so that when you're done using them, you can just take and put them directly into the bucket with the sand, and it cleans them all off and gives it a nice little coat of oil. So I'll put that in the description as well if you're interested. Some of you newer viewers may not have caught those videos. Some of you who have been with me for a while may know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, that has turned out really, really nice. Very happy. This shovel here, I think, is very high quality. I'm not sure, it just says USA tempered on there. I'm not sure who made it or where it came from, but it is a very good tool. The wood was very hard, so I know it's a good quality. And everything, the steel here, when I clean this up, just shined. And so I'm really happy with how these have turned out. All right, well, I have to admit, oiling handles is not necessarily the most fun, but having a good quality tool in your hand when the time comes to use it, that is great. So take the time to take care of your tools, and they will be sure to take care of you. So these two, they're going to go out to the shed so that we can use them throughout the season. I have plenty of shovels, so I think I'm going to take this one here and put it up here on the wall to be displayed. All right, even though it's not the most fun, I would advise that you take the time to always treat your handles with linseed oil. You'd be amazed how long they will last you. Even if 1 or 2 days they get left outside, one of your kids leave it and don't get it put away, they can still last for a very, very long time. Good quality tools are just, they're worth taking care of. So hey, thank you so much for joining me on this video. Give me a thumbs up, share with a friend if you know somebody that you think might enjoy this content, and I really hope to see you on the next video. Have a great day and God bless.